Hi everybody. With regard to the new gun control measures, people are very concerned about diagnoses of mental illnesses as being used as a means to prohibit people from having their right to defend themselves. Now, one thing that's very important is there is a mental health manual, and this is the manual that is used to put a label or a diagnosis on somebody. They're coming out with a new manual. It's called the DSM-5, and it's coming out in May, so not that long after these new gun measures. Now, there is a psychiatrist speaking out against the changes in this particular manual, and so I'll just go through a few of those changes. Disruptive mood dysregulation disorder, DSM-5 will turn tempered tantrums into a mental disorder. A puzzling decision based on the work of only one research group. We have no idea how this untested new diagnosis will play out in real-life practice settings, but my fear is that it will exacerbate, not relieve, the already excessive and inappropriate use of medication in young children. During the past 2 decades, child psychiatry has already provoked 3 fads: a tripling of attention deficit disorder, a more than 20 times increase in autistic disorder, and a 40 times increase in childhood bipolar disorder. The field should have felt chastened by this sorry track record and should engage itself now in the crucial task of educating practitioners and the public about the difficulty of accurately diagnosing children and the risks of over-medicating them. DSM-5 should not be adding a new disorder likely to result in a new fad and even more inappropriate medication use in vulnerable children. Number 2, normal grief will become major depressive disorder. Thus, medicalizing and trivializing are expectable and necessary emotional reactions to the loss of a loved one, and substituting pills and superficial medical rituals for the deep consolations of family, friends, religion, and the resiliency that comes with time and the acceptance of the limitations of life. Number 3, the everyday forgetting characteristic of old age will now be misdiagnosed as minor neurocognitive disorder, creating a huge false positive population of people who are not at special risk for dementia. Since there is no effective treatment for this condition or for dementia, the label provides absolutely no benefit, while creating great anxiety even for those at true risk for later developing dementia. It is a dead loss for the many who will be mislabeled. Number 4, DSM-5 will likely trigger a fad of adult attention deficit disorder, leading to widespread misuse of stimulant drugs for performance enhancement and recreation, and contributing to the already large illegal secondary market in diverted prescription drugs. Number 5, excessive eating. Excessive eating 12 times in 3 months is no longer just a manifestation of gluttony and the easy availability of really great tasting food. DSM-5 has instead turned it into a psychiatric illness called binge eating disorder. Number 6, the changes in the DSM-5 definition of autism will result in lowered rates. 10% according to estimates by the DSM-5 work group, perhaps 50% according to outside research groups. This reduction can be seen as beneficial in the sense that the diagnosis of autism will be more accurate and specific, but advocates understandably fear a disruption in needed school services. Here, the DSM-5 problem is not so much a bad decision, but the misleading promises that it will have no impact on rates of disorder or of service delivery. School services should be tied more to educational need, less to controversial psychiatric diagnoses created for clinical, not educational purposes, and whose rate is so sensitive to small changes in definition and assessment. Number 7, first-time substance abusers will be lumped intentionally in with hardcore addicts despite their very different treatment needs and prognosis and the stigma this will cause. Number 8, DSM-5 has created a slippery slope by introducing the concept of behavioral addictions that eventually can spread to make a mental disorder of everything we like to do. Watch out for careless overdiagnosis of internet and sex addiction and the development of lucrative treatment programs to exploit these new markets. DSM-5 obscures the already fuzzy boundary between generalized anxiety disorder and the worries of everyday life. Small changes in definition can create millions of anxious new patients and expand the already widespread practice of inappropriately prescribing addicting anti-anxiety medications. And number 10, DSM-5 has opened the gate even further to the already existing problem of misdiagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder in forensic settings. So one thing that's important to know about this particular manual is they keep adding and subtracting mental illnesses. So, for example, one year you could have a mental illness diagnosis, and the next year they'll decide it's not a mental illness, and vice versa. Now, what one has to also realize is the agenda that's going on here. It wasn't that long ago, I think it was Bush that recommended psychiatric testing of every student in school. So this goes along with the gun restrictions. They want everybody to be reliant upon the government. They want also to sell more drugs, psychiatric drugs, which are mind-altering drugs, to control the population. What better way to control them than giving them some silly, ridiculous mental illness diagnosis, making sure they never own a gun, making sure they can't go to another country, they can't travel or do anything. And this is what they do. So anybody at all with a brain has probably got some sort of a mental illness diagnosis right now, which is utterly ridiculous.